This is true and some of this is false. And like I always like to say, I like to go straight to the horse's mouth, which you clearly understand in Kaiser's memoirs, his attitudes, his thinking, his philosophy, honest, well-written, intelligent, fair, impartial, at the same time, embezzled a little bit, exaggerated a little bit. I'm not saying that everything he did, everything in the German Empire was perfect or right, that he didn't make mistakes, that he didn't sin. He did some wrong stuff, and he did some good things, and at the same time a product of his own time. But we must learn from history and not make the mistakes of history. But we also must enjoy and respect our history, not to be like Esau, who sold his birthright for a pot of stew. God can't stand people who have no respect for their inherited history, and God wants not only the 12 tribes of Israel to respect their history. He also wants the Gentiles to respect their history, to love their history as well. Love the good things and to hate the bad things.
Hun Speech, 1900. The Boxer Rebellion, an anti-Western uprising in China, was put down in 1900 by an international force of British, French, Russian, American, Japanese, and German troops. The Germans, however, forfeited any prestige they might have gained for their participation by arriving only after British and Japanese forces had taken Peking, the site of the fiercest fighting. Moreover, the poor impression left by the German troops' late arrival was made worse by the Kaiser's ill-conceived farewell address, in which he commanded them, in the spirit of the Huns, to be merciless in battle. 26. Wilhelm II delivered this speech in Bremerhaven on July 27, 1900. He was addressing German troops who were departing to suppress the Boxer Rebellion in China. The speech was infused by Wilhelm's fiery and chauvinistic rhetoric and clearly expressed his vision of German imperial power. There were two versions of the speech. The Foreign Office issued an edited version, making sure to omit one particularly incendiary paragraph that they regarded as diplomatically embarrassing. 27. The edited version read like this: great overseas tasks have fallen to the new German Empire, tasks far greater than many of my countrymen expected. The German Empire has, by its very character, the obligation to assist its citizens if they are being set upon in foreign lands. The tasks that the old Roman Empire of the German nation was unable to accomplish, the new German Empire is in a position to fulfill. The means that make this possible is our army.
For example of Zionistic historical revisionism, partly true and partly false. You want to get a better and clear understanding, and you must go to Kaiser Wilhelm's memoirs, where he tells the truth about this in his memoirs. It was part in the news was espousing propaganda to try to fort and rally people against the German Empire.
Should you encounter the enemy, he will be defeated. No quarter will be given. prisoners will not be taken. Whoever falls into your hands is forfeited. Just as 1,000 years ago the Huns under their king Attila made a name for themselves, one that even today makes them seem mighty in history and legend, may the name German be affirmed by you in such a way in China that no Chinese will ever again dare to look cross-eyed at a German. 2729. The term Hun later became the favored epithet of Allied anti-German war propaganda during World War I. 26. Moroccan crisis. One of Wilhelm II's diplomatic blunders sparked the Moroccan crisis of 1905, when Wilhelm made a spectacular visit to Tangier, in Morocco. Wilhelm's presence was seen as an assertion of German interests in Morocco, in opposition to France. In his speech he even made certain remarks in favor of Moroccan independence. This led to friction with France, which had expanding colonial interests in Morocco, and led to the Algeciras Conference, which served largely to further isolate Germany in Europe. 30. Daily Telegraph affair.
And of course, this Zionist again casting a negative light on Kaiser Wilhelm II. There was with his propaganda, and there was a systematic plan and propaganda to fort and encircle German from making the German Empire the necessary things that they wanted to achieve. So there's part truths and part lies in this. The only way, in my recommendation, is to go straight to the horse's mouth, Kaiser's memoirs, written by Kaiser Wilhelm, and get his opinion and his ideas of what he said, and to study historical to study older and more sounder scholars about the history. It's just like when you're studying the Bible, you want to go straight to the horse's mouth, find out what the Apostle Paul's about, and those who were closer there during his time. In the Apostle Paul's time, those writers and so forth. And I think it is true in some sense that Kaiser Wilhelm II wrote a historical narrative as well. Down with the Zionist Satan, those descendants from Cain.
Perhaps Wilhelm's most damaging personal blunder cost him much of his prestige and power, and had a far greater impact in Germany than internationally. The Daily Telegraph affair of 1908 involved the publication in Germany of an interview with a British daily newspaper that included wild statements and diplomatically damaging remarks. Wilhelm had seen the interview as an opportunity to promote his views and ideas on Anglo-German friendship. But his emotional outbursts during the course of the interview ended up further alienating not only the British, but also the French, Russians and Japanese. He implied, among other things, that the Germans cared nothing for the British, that the French and Russians had attempted to incite Germany to intervene in the Second Boer War, and that the German naval build-up was targeted against the Japanese, not Britain. One memorable quotation from the interview was, "You English are mad, mad, mad as March hares." 31. The effect in Germany was quite significant, with serious calls for his abdication. Wilhelm kept a very low profile for many months after the Daily Telegraph fiasco, but later exacted his revenge by forcing the resignation of the Chancellor, Prince Bülow, who had abandoned the emperor to public scorn by not having the transcript edited before its German publication. 32-33, the Daily Telegraph. Crisis deeply wounded Wilhelm's previously unimpaired self-confidence, and he soon suffered a severe bout of depression from which he never fully recovered. He lost much of the influence he had previously exercised in domestic and foreign policy. 34. British public opinion had been quite favourable toward the Kaiser in his first 12 years on the throne, but turned sour in the late 1890s. During the World War, however, he became the central target of British anti-German propaganda as the personification of a hated enemy. 35. Naval expansion.
Another example of half-truths, historical revisionist by the Zionist demons about Kaiser Wilhelm and his German Empire, and what he part true and part false in this. It was the propaganda against German didn't start right away. It began even at the beginning of his reign. French and Russia wanted a war with Germany. United Kingdom's wanted a war with Germany. Although Russia was in some ways was reluctant, but like I said, he was in debt. The Russian Empire was in debt with the French, and it was the revolution of the Zionist, communist, socialist, Marxman, radicalists. In some ways, should have been exterminated or killed or brought to justice in some ways. Put down in some ways in a fair and just and righteous manner. In the blunders of politics, with blunder of politics and policies during that time. But I would put this as a fair assessment of the unfair assessment of the situation. And I just say it again, go straight to the horse's mouth. Kaiser Wilhelm's II's memoirs, Kaiser's memoirs, to get the answer straight from the horse's mouth.